welcome to the Divas of the Round Table. I have Nikki Nicole here today, and I am Ladybug. We have our special guest, and I'm going to introduce her. Opal Marie Menchan was born and raised right here in Jacksonville, Florida. Opal graduated from William M. Raines High School with the class of 1994, William M. Raines, Ichiban.
Yes.
Upon completion of high school, she went on to attend college at the first HBCU established in Florida, Edward Waters University, where she majored and received a bachelor's degree in education and criminal justice.
Yes.
She later went on to receive a master's degree in educational leadership at Jacksonville University. And now she is studying to receive another degree for a Bachelor of Science in Nursing from Florida State College of Jacksonville. Opal is a proud member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, a member of the Order of Eastern Star, and a founding member of Tigerpreneurs. Opal was recently featured in an interview highlighting Black History Month and Women's History, hosted by local celebrity DJ Shawnee Jones of V103.93 and iHeartMedia. But her favorite accomplishment, she says, is the one of becoming a mom to her one and only son, Omari. Ladies and gentlemen, I present Opal Menchan.
Hi.
Good to have you, sis.
Yes, thank
Good
you
to have you. She had no problem. I was like, hey, we need to get you here on this show so we can hear your story, because she has a great story to tell you all about her triumph, her overcoming, because she is a survivor and she can be an everyday hero for people who are going through similar situations. This is an amazing story. So, Opal, we're glad to have you here, sis.
Thank you
We
for
are
having
glad
me.
to have you.
I'm so proud to be here. Thank you so much for the amazing ladies. Thank you for having me.
All right.
So let's get right into it.
Okay, so my story is not anything new. With Black women like me, women of color especially, but Black women particularly, we have the highest death rate when it comes to childbirth.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that is because of lack of being diagnosed correctly,
Mhm.
not taken seriously,
Mm-hmm.
and our treatment and issues being neglected to be seen as important or in depth as
Yes.
members of other communities.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that I had to deal with that struggle. Particularly, one of the issues I faced, I was diagnosed with high blood pressure from my pregnancy. And because of that, I was not given the option firsthand to say, you know what, take off from work and start your time off for your child now.
Right.
I was just given medication, said, we'll try this, hopefully it does enough, and sent back to work. I wasn't given that option. And my personal view is because of who I was and my race, that I was not seen as maybe she should take that time off from work.
Right.
Okay.
And so because of that, I ended up with preeclampsia, which caused me to go into early labor.
Mm.
And my son was premature.
Mm.
And ultimately ended up causing me to have cardiac issues with heart failure.
Mm.
Okay.
And because of that, it led to me end up having to get a pacemaker, which eventually led to me end up needing an entire heart with a transplant. So I'm on the other end of that. I'm actually going to year 5 of being a transplant recipient.
All right.
So
That
I'm
is
very
a
happy
blessing
about
and a
that,
miracle. That's a
So-
blessing.
How many years transpire in between your diagnosis of heart failure to you actually needing to have that life-saving surgery?
Great question. So let's start off with the fact insurance is going to make you jump through hoops.
Mm-hmm.
The doctors knew my end result was going to be needing a heart transplant. They already knew.
Mm.
By the test I took, they knew that was going to be the end result. But before I could get there, I had to take steps. Even though they knew, I had to make sure I did everything else before I got to that point. So because of that, I could say I ended up retiring from teaching because of my health issue. My doctor said, just can't keep going back from forth from the hospital and going to work. It's too much. Around this time, my son was 3. And by the time I ended up getting my heart transplant, he was turning 9.
Mm-hmm.
So roughly about 6 years.
6 years.
Dealing with this. It took me to get to that point. I had to go to a psychologist to make sure that I was in the right state of mind before I can get the heart. I had to go and make sure I was aware of the nutrition awareness. I had to make sure I knew what to eat correctly. I had to make sure I knew how to take my medicine. I had to do a lot of things. I had to go to a certain number of doctor's appointments. It was a lot of hoops. It was a lot of hoops. A lot of making sure they thought I was worthy enough to receive that transplant. Yes. And for people of color, we tend to not get that much options of those transplants.
So what you have is called congestive heart failure, correct?
Yes, I was diagnosed with congestive heart failure.
So congestive heart failure, also known as heart failure, is a condition where the heart cannot pump blood effectively enough to meet the blood's needs.
Correctly.
Causes, there are various causes. The coronary artery disease, high blood pressure, heart valve disease, and congenital heart defects. Some symptoms, if you have symptoms, please pay attention.
Yes.
Shortness of breath, especially during exercising or lying down, fatigue, swelling of the feet, ankles or legs, coughing, wheezing, rapid or irregular heartbeat, chest pain, and reduced exercise tolerance. So those are just few of the symptoms that you have. Did you have any of those symptoms?
Yes. So let me tell you how I found out that I was ill. I did not know at first. After I had my son, I went on, I carried on, I stayed home for a while, did the normal things I would do. Didn't notice anything wrong, just thinking, just the regular side effects of having a baby.
You're
tired. So everything was fine. The moment I had to go back to work and I got off for my time off with my son, and I had to go back. So when I was going back, of course, like I said, I was teaching. I had to go back through the insurance and change things and meet up at the downtown office. So as I'm going, I just remember feeling so tired. Just I don't know why, I was just sluggish, trying to get into the building. It just felt like it was a mile away. It was just right there. And so as I'm going in, I walk in, I sit down, and we're getting ready to start the process. I was early. And I said, let me go to the bathroom and kind of sweating a little bit, fix my face and get myself together. The moment I went in, it seemed like it took me 45 minutes just to gather myself in the bathroom. And I didn't know what was going on. So when I came out, I talked to the lady with insurance. I said, hey, I don't know what's going on. I said, I don't feel good. Just having a struggle right now. She said, well, do you want to come back? I said, well, no, I really need to get this done and get everything squared away for myself and my son for insurance purposes. So she went on ahead and finished with me, even though they were done. I was late. So I went on and just chalked it up to I'm just not feeling good that day. Again, issues of having a baby postpartum. So I go home, and my first day starting, I get ready to go to school to get my room together before the school year started. So I'm getting my room together, and I'm still struggling, but I'm getting it done. When I really realized there was an issue was I was going upstairs. My classroom was upstairs in the building in the back. All I had in my hand was a laptop. So as I'm going upstairs, I'm walking to my office, to my classroom rather, and I'm going upstairs with my laptop. I did not make it up three stairs. 3 stairs, and that was it. And so because of that, I'm still not knowing what was going on. I'm a new mother, never had a child. I didn't have anyone to tell me, explain what's going on. So I go ahead and I carry my things up, and I'm trying again. And when I couldn't make it, I ended up having to leave, emergency leave. I had kids coming in, they had to reshuffle the kids. I went to the doctor, and they told me, oh, well, the flu season is out. Maybe it's the flu. So I said, okay. They gave me medicine, which I had needed, which is fluid. So that was one of the issues. So it helped the fluid. The medicine they gave me did help with the fluid. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe that was what it was. Listen to your body.
Yeah.
That next day, the next week when I went back, still wasn't feeling right. Still just something's wrong. I again made an emergency contact to my doctor to get more tests. And this time they did an EKG and checked my heart.
Okay.
After that, because it was not my regular doctor, it was a doctor because it was emergency. So he comes in, he says, listen, You're not my patient. I don't know your background. So he said, so listen, don't ask me any questions.
Don't ask you any
Wow.
questions.
That threw me off. I said,
Okay.
I said, don't ask any questions. Just listen and take heed to what I'm telling you. So now I'm afraid.
Yeah.
And he
Nervous.
says to me, your heart is enlarged extremely.
Mm.
Something is wrong. He said, making a point. He said, do you have a cardiologist? I said, I do. He said, do not let 48 hours go by without you having an emergency visit to go to that doctor.
Oh, wow.
If they cannot get you in within 48 hours, go to the emergency room. Do exactly what I tell you and nothing else. Because all I know, he's telling me, all I know is your heart is very enlarged and you need to be treated. So now, of course, I'm freaking out.
Yeah.
Brand new baby. This is not what I'm ready to hear right now.
Yeah.
So I do make an appointment to my cardiologist and I tell them what was said and what's going on. They come back and say, yes, you have an enlarged heart. We're going to diagnose your diagnosis. You probably had preeclampsia and it's extreme. We're going to try to treat it with medication. But based on what we're looking at, you might need more. So of course now I'm in full panic. My God, what do I do? I still have a newborn baby who's not even 3 months at home right now. So finally they said, okay, listen, we're going to do these things. Okay, so I get to them. The doctor tells me the insurance needs you to have these things first. Okay, we have a plan. Okay, eventually, again, they told me you're going to end up having to need a transplant. So by the time now, I'm already aware. I'm at this time 35. Who's thinking of transplants, heart failure at 35?
Right.
So okay, so they tell me the plan, and I'm going to say it. This was at Baptist Hospital. They tell me, okay, we're going to make a plan. So me being the patient, knowing I need to get to a certain point, and the way I am in my mindset as a planner, if this is the end, what are the steps?
Right.
Tell me what I need to do. I'm ready. I need to be here for my son. What do I do? I never could get a plan. All I knew was there's supposed to be a plan. No steps. Every time I come in for a visit, what are the steps? We're going to get to the steps. What are the steps? We're going to get to the steps. That doesn't work for me. That does not work for me. I need to know it, need to say it. I need you to plan it out. What are we doing? X, Y, Z. Get me there.
Yeah.
They would never do it. So I remember the final straw was when I went in when I had edema really bad. I had really bad, just fluid build up so bad I could barely walk. I get in and said, hey, I'm feeling bad. I think I need to be checked into the ER. And at Baptist, and I don't know. So the doctor looks at me and says, well, you don't look sick enough.
What?
To be admitted into the ER. We're just going to give you some water pills. I remember just saying to myself, and I told him, I said, if you don't admit me, you won't see me again. And I remember he said, no, we don't need to admit you. And the nurse practitioner I had on staff was a woman. She came out. My woman, she says, hey, Miss Menchan, she understood it was not, that didn't sound right.
Yeah.
And she says, what can I do? I said, absolutely nothing. I looked at her, I said, find another place to work. This is not it. I said, but you don't have to worry about me again. I remember going to my car, breaking down in tears and saying, God, lead me, because this isn't it. I have to take my hands back. Tell me where you want me to go, because this place won't see me again. And as soon as I finished that prayer and talking to God, he said, open up your phone and look for best doctors in Jacksonville for heart failure. And I did. And I found Dr. Patel at St. Vincent's. And when I tell you my life changed, I ended up going to him. He said the same thing. We have steps. He said, but these are the steps. And he laid it out. Everything we're going to do. He said, starting here, I'm sending you here. We're going to do this, and do this. He laid it all out to me. God showed me where to go and gave me the best doctor. And everyone in my family that I can tell to go goes to him. He says, hey, he told me, he said, if I knew I was going to take your whole family, I wouldn't have room for any other patients. Shouldn't be so good at your job. So that was a blessing. I went to Mayo. I ended up going to Mayo. He said, whenever you feel sick, go to Mayo. Don't go either St. Vincent or Mayo. I never heard from that moment after I left Baptist a doctor say, a person has a cardiac issue. Ever tell you they're not going to admit you. It's mandatory 3 days, and then you come into a follow-up appointment at Mayo and St. Vincent's. So I knew God sent me where I need to be.
St. Vincent's kept me for 3 days doing tests. I had to run on the treadmill and all that stuff, because when I was first going through getting my STCW, I had heart palpitations and all of that stuff when we was doing the pool exercises. And I was dehydrated, exhaustion. That's what I was diagnosed with. But because of the paramedics had to come get me, and they took me to St. Vincent's, and they kept me there for 3 days because of that. So she's absolutely correct. And if I'm not mistaken, let me ask you this, Dr. Patel, like when you come past the parking garage, are they through that light down there in the buildings to the right down there, or is he in the main hospital?
He's actually, Dr. Patel is actually located in the south side, the one that used to be Memorial.
Okay.
Used to be Memorial. He's out there. That's his office location.
Okay.
But I actually, he was my basic cardiologist, but my specialist was at St. Vincent's on Riverside.
Riverside, yeah, because that Riverside office, I had to go later on again to a cardiologist, and I know you go like with the parking garage, when you come out the parking garage, that street right there, and you go back, because you're close to the water, and it's a building there, and I used to have to go there and have, my things done with my heart, but I was just out of shape and fat, girl.
Don't do that.
Child, wasn't that going on.
That's called SF6.
It was like, lose some weight, girl. Lose some weight and come back. But, thank God for me, everything worked out fine. But, speaking on that, being a mother, I can only understand your anguish, a new mother. And so early in your diagnosis, they knew what you needed, that you needed a transplant. Most times, it's so early to where you could do this treatments and other things, and maybe lifestyle changes maybe could help or alleviate some of the symptoms or the progression of the condition. But in your case, in the very beginning, they knew so much damage had been done that you was ultimately going to have to get a transplant.
Well, because of the length of time going undiagnosed made a difference. And so because of that, and my family already has heart issues. So between those two things, it was already, they knew.
Okay.
They knew I was going to end. I had to get a pacemaker first, actually, before I even got the heart. So that was a part of it. There were so many things. They did things to prevent, like, I don't have sleep apnea, but the doctor said, hey, we're going to try it and see if it helps. That was the thing. So they did so much. Between St. Vincent and Mayo, the treatment was just phenomenal. And as a matter of fact, the day I went in, 2 days when I finally ended up going for my heart issues, I was just in St. Vincent's. I had gone to St. Vincent's right after Thanksgiving. I didn't even think I was going to make it to Thanksgiving. I was going to be in the hospital. But I went in 2 days after Thanksgiving, and I stayed there from the end of November all the way to December 14th. And so St. Vincent says, hey, listen, I told them, well, actually, I had an appointment set up, and I said, grace of God. From being at St. Vincent, I met a young lady, and she was even my nurse. And she said, hey, Ms. Menchan, I'm sorry. She said, I see you coming in all the time. She said, I see you, and I look at you. And I looked at your chart. She said, you're so young. She said, it worries me because we're the same age. She said, what? She said, do you mind if I ask you what happened? What's going on? And so I told her my story. And she says, I have a friend that's in admission for transplant therapy at Mayo. Can I send your information? Absolutely. Absolutely, because again, I knew there's a trial and you have to go through the process and they have to know that you're ready. She said, and I see you, and I tell her, I just want to tell her about you because I just think you would be a great, because I know I've heard you say you had to go get a transplant was the end of your story for what you need for care. And I said, yes. So because of that, because of the placement, because of putting him in the right place, that when I had to go in for I was given the opportunity to come in sooner for my services for transplant. And so the 14th, I had an extra appointment at Mayo on the 16th. And St. Vincent didn't want to let me leave. They were like, you don't need to leave. You are on my way to the upper room. So let me put it there. And so the doctor says, okay, we're letting you leave because you have this appointment. I begged. I said, let me go to that appointment. This might be the one to get me to my heart. He said, I'm letting you leave to go to this appointment. But if they do not admit you, come back. Come back. So when I went in to that appointment at Mayo, I couldn't even put on a pair of sweatpants and a t-shirt because that's all I had left in me, my energy to get dressed. And my mom, we were late. She said, oh, we think they're going to take us. I said, Mama, God already showed me. God showed me, it's gonna be fine. Just come on, just get me to the appointment. So I'm dragging my mother had to help me get into the car because I had no strength to even pull myself up into the car. So when we get there, we go through the process. They're taking all blood samples, they're doing the EKG, everything you can think of to see what was going on. So by the time I get to the end to the doctor, and I'm getting ready to go in, and the nurse says, she says, we're going to see if we can get you in because it's kind of late. Let me see if he can still take you. My mom said, you think she getting it? I said, Mom, he's going to see my paperwork. He's going to take me. I'm not worried. God showed it to me. As soon as I get in, he looks at me. He says, I don't know how you're still alive. I don't know how you're still here. He told me, he says, I looked at your chart. He says, I don't understand it. He said, you have two choices. I can give you medication for you to go home and eventually, die. Or you can come in, and as soon as you walk out this office, go downstairs and get it registered to be seen. We're going to give you a test to see if you even can survive getting a heart pump. And I know there was a thing called a heart pump. A heart pump to sustain you until you can get a heart transplant. If you can survive the test, then we go to the next step. Because pretty much I had no option of to go home and die or take this test and probably die.
And what kind of options?
That was.
Well, I mean, you got the 6 in one and a dozen in another.
Right.
So you got to say, okay, Lord, which way or which direction do you want me to go?
So because of my son, and I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm not a person who deals in low vibration or depression, but where I was, I don't think if I had my son, I'd have been fine with going home just because I didn't want to deal with it anymore.
Yeah.
But because the option was, for one, was opportunity for survival, I'd rather die fighting because the person I am, I'd rather die fighting than to lay it down.
Right.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, let's try, what's going on. And I will give my mother credit. This was the first time she broke down when she heard that. And so I went downstairs and we went in and I did survive. And here we are. But before I say that, before I end it there, I said, Lord, when they gave me the heart pump and they said, with the heart pump, I will tell you, it's about this big, chest, stomach. It's a very big pump. And it cannot be wet. And if it turns off, that's it. It's like a battery pack that ran my heart, that kept my heart pumping. Well, not even my heart, but just pumping the blood. It was off a battery pack. And so I remember thinking like, God, I can't live like this. I live in Florida. You mean I can't go swimming? I can't do it. I have, at this time, again, a 7-year-old that I have to raise. And you tell me I can't go do anything with him, and have to be careful about, because it's a pack. They carry like a battery pack.
Yes.
So I'm like,
And he's an active 7 years old, because he gonna be like, Mama, come on. He real active. High energy. I know nephew, high energy.
Let me tell you something, though. Let me tell you something. That boy would rather look and see you on the sidelines and not out there with him than to look and you not there at all.
Right. That's true. But you know how it is as a mom. You want to give them it all. Give them all of it. All of you, every piece of you, every the best part. So I said, okay. I remember again praying, Lord, listen. Because I met a man who had 8 years. He waited 8 years for a heart. Met another one, waited 6. While I was waiting for my heart transplant issue for the battery pack, there was a lady in there, didn't make it. So it had a lot of things going on. I remember saying, Lord, here we are again. This is what I got. I don't have 6 weeks, 6 years. I'm barely pushing 6 months, Lord. I need this heart so I can get back to my life and my son sooner rather than later. And I remember hearing the Lord clearly in my head saying, okay. And that was it. So I went on, I did the process. I went in December. I stayed in Mayo until the end of April, and I did 3 weeks of post-care at Brooks Rehab to May 5th. I'll never forget it. And when I came home May 5th, it was a surprise. My mom and brother did not tell anyone I was coming home. But I came home May 5th, saw my son and my father. For the first time, I just remember standing for 15 minutes. We just cried like babies, the entire house. And so from that moment, I said, Lord, we had a conversation when I was in the hospital. I'm trying not to cry, you all. But I had a conversation. I said, Lord, listen, I'm going to hold to my part because I know you're going to hold in your part. I'm going to fight. I'm going to do what I have to do to get back to my life. And I can remember by the time I finished, I had to go through heart transplant therapy. They make you go through rehab and therapy to prepare you for the heart. I started rehab therapy in June. It lasted to the end of August.
Mm-hmm.
My birthday was September. I remember saying, Lord, okay, my birthday gift, I want that blessing.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time I ended therapy at the end of August, by October, then up to October, they were talking about, hey, we're getting ready to start. You get practice with dry runs. A dry run is when they tell you to come in like you have a heart, but it's not there but to show you how it will look and how it will run to prepare you for the heart when it comes. And they tell you, hey, listen, sometimes we'll get you actually a real run and the heart may not be there. So I said, well, what would that look like if the heart is prepared and it's not right for me and I can't have it? Well, we'll have you in stasis, like a stasis of being alive, but you have no heart. You just, waiting for the next heart. So I'm just unconscious. Yeah. God, I don't want that. So that was another. I'm like, Lord, okay, I know I need to add a little piece onto that first prayer. I don't want to do that. Let mine be right the first time.
Let mine be correct.
So I remember as we get ready to approach Thanksgiving, I went to get a haircut from my brother. My brother was my barber, now his son is. But I went to get a haircut. And he says, hey, Opal, have you heard anything? My frat brother's on the phone, want to know if you heard anything. I said, no, nothing yet. Getting ready for Thanksgiving, a haircut for Thanksgiving, it's the 23rd, getting ready for Thanksgiving. So I said, no, I go home. And my mom looks at me with eyes. My mom's eyes, big eyes. So I've already bigger. So now her eyes are big. I'm like, what? What's wrong? She said, they just called. Mayo just called. Come on, we got to get your heart. Every emotion that could ever come across me happened. I was happy, sad, scared, bold. It was just every emotion. Mm-hmm. And I remember packing and just praying and praying and packing. Saying, Lord, I'm putting you ahead. You ahead of me. You tell me what to do. I remember the hardest part was having a conversation with my son. Saying, hey, if mama doesn't make it, I'm here spiritually, him understanding, said, but mama, what if you don't come back? You have to say, but that's okay. That love I have, that is there. It would last throughout anything. Yeah. And so I had to explain it to him. And he understood it. So I prayed and said, God, bring me back to my baby. And I remember the whole time I was in the hospital, staff knew him. They knew he couldn't come in because I went in during COVID. So life shut down. So he couldn't come visit me. So I didn't see my son. I didn't add that. I hadn't seen him. Now, mind you, when I got out in April, I hadn't seen him since February. So it was okay. I said, Lord, you brought me back to him not to take me away. Yes. So I'm going to have faith that you're going to let me continue to raise my son. Yes. So as I went in, I'm praying. I remember everyone. I had prayers coming from everyone, every person. And I'm thankful for every prayer. And
She called me on the way to the hospital and said, Sister, I'm going. And I said, where are you going? She said, I got my heart. And I said, you got your heart. And I immediately went to crying, and we prayed and we just cried and we prayed on the phone. And I just told her, you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. She is a true survivor. She has been in a hospital so many times. And she'll call me, Sister, I need you to come bring this for me. Sister, I need you to come bring this for me. Sister, I need you to come do this for me.
She never said that.
And I would come to the hospital. I'll be like, I'll be there. I'm going to bring this for you. What you need me to do? I need you to go do this for Mark. I'll go do whatever she needed me to do the whole time when she was in the hospital. She's sick. And she needed me to take her to the hospital. I would go with her to the hospital. Yes. It wasn't like, oh, I can't do that for you today. What you need me to do? It was no matter when she called, I was there for her. So I know she's been in the hospital so many times. She's been down. She's been up. She's been sad. She's been through it. And this heart and what she's been through, it takes a lot on you mentally. Yeah. It takes a lot on you mentally. So you have to be strong mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. And you have to have people in your corner
The village.
who gonna put into you. Because you can't have people talking about, well, girl, why you keep doing this? Well, girl, why you keep going in? Well, girl, don't do this. Well, girl, don't do that. You can't have those kind of people when you going through the battle and the fight of your life. You gotta have people who, when they ring that bell, they with you, holding hands with you, swinging with you. So it's been a lot for her.
Yes.
So I understand my sister.
Thank you so
I love you, sister.
I know. I appreciate it.
I love you.
More. But it has been a battle. It doesn't end once you get that heart. It does not end, because the other side of this, once you get the heart, you have to take immune suppressants.
Yeah.
And anyone who knows enough about your immune system, that's what battles the cancer, that's what battles your colds, basic colds, anything infectious, all of that is a part of your immune system. So when you don't have that, it can leave you open to so much. And a part of that, to go in deeper, as soon as I got home and got my heart, they came out with the COVID virus treatment. And I thank God that it happened just when it did, because for me, I ended up getting the virus treatment almost a month before I ended up getting COVID. And I remember said, okay, Lord, here we are again. You did not bring me out to take me out this way. I remember being so sick and saying, God, please don't let my son find his mama cold in this bed like this, because I was just that sick. And I remember just fighting through it. And the crazy part about it, the strain that I had that I originally got was supposed to have been one of the weaker ones. And for me, again, without having an immune system, and we found out for those who had the COVID virus, it's really only maybe 30% active for us because we have no immune system. So imagine what my life would have been like without that, even 30% of it. I don't think I would be here. And so I just remember fighting through that and deal with that. I was diagnosed with COVID in May. And I was tested positive for COVID all the way into September.
Oh, wow.
Because again, another part of with my transplant, I have to go back and forth with Mayo to get blood every month. They first started off with every week, every other week, then once a month. So I was at the once a month stage, and they were like, hey, you still testing positive. They said they would take me because, in fact, after a certain amount of time, the strain is no longer able to be transmitted to someone else. But they were like, yeah, you tested positive from May to September.
Oh, wow.
And so finally, my doctor goes, I think you've had every strain of COVID there was. I probably did. So, that was a major hit. I ended up having knee replacement surgery on my right knee. That took me out because my immune system was trying to heal my knee. And in the process of healing my knee, it caused me to boost up my immune system, which is not good. So, of course, it started me having lymphedema again and dealing with those issues, which also made me sick. They had to change my medication and boost it up. They thought I was going to lose my kidney. That caused my kidney issues. So now I'm dealing with heart and kidney issues.
Oh, wow.
It's just a lot. So the medication that would help me heal wasn't good for my kidneys, but it was good for my heart. So they had to just try to figure it out. That's the biggest thing. You're on a tightrope for a while when you get that transplant surgery. And that's for any transplant, whether it's kidney, heart, whatever it is. This is a battle that we deal with as a recipient, that you have to go through that. But that's one of the major ones.
So you told us about, having your immune system being repressed and catching COVID. I know you mentioned before we started filming that as a recipient, you also contracted something from your donor heart. Can you tell us about that?
Okay, so one of the other issues is when you get a donor, you don't know how it would affect you that your donor may have a virus or something, an issue that ends up coming to the recipient. Well, my before I get into that, one of those things are hepatitis. That's one of the well-known issues that happens with transplant, where the donor may have hepatitis and then the recipient does not. And so because of the transplant, the recipient ends up having hepatitis. Well, for me, one of those issues I had was cytomegalovirus. Well, my donor ended up having that virus, and I ended up being a recipient, and now I have to deal with it. For people like me with lowered immune system, it can And it cannot be an issue depending on the person. For me, they were able to give me medication to suppress it and take it for 6 weeks and then I'm fine.
Okay.
But if one of the issues though, when I got sick with my knee replacement and my immune system was so weak because of it, I ended up getting ramped back up and they had to treat it again.
Okay.
It's a sensitive topic right now. I just had a family member who had the same issue and they could not fight it. So now the reality of just how serious this virus can be to people like me is hitting my reality. So I don't know if I will be able to fight it off forever and how that will look. I don't know. What I can do is, in this moment right now, fight as hard as I can and keep as healthy as I can to keep going.
Yeah. We had that conversation when her family member passed away because she put something out there and I called her like, hey, sister, what's going on? What's going on? And she was telling me about it. And I had to tell her, hey, this is not your story. Yeah. That's not your story. Yeah. You done came too far. You back in the swing. You back in the groove. You back in doing things. Because this has really taken a hold of her life. She wasn't going nowhere. She wasn't doing nothing. She wasn't being sociable. Yeah, I might come to her house or she might come to her house. But if I say, hey, let's go out. Let's go do something. She wasn't doing none of that. Yeah. She wasn't doing, hey, let's go out of town. Let's go on a trip. She wasn't doing any of that. And she's gotten back out to it. Now she's going out. She's saying, I'm like, sister, you in the streets. You finna have a hot girl. We in these streets. We going out. I'm like, sister, where you at? Oh, I'm here. I'm with this one. I'm like, oh, sister, you back in the streets. Then when this happened, she was like, I was like, no. This is not what we doing. We're not going back. We're not going back to that. You making steps. You making strides. So we're going to continue to press forward. Yes. We're going to continue to press forward. That's your family. You love them. We're going to pray, but that's not your story. Yes. So you're going to keep it moving. We're going to keep looking forward. We're going to keep looking forward. So
let me ask you this. Was your donor, was it like an open transplant thing, like to where you know your donor and family and who they are, or was it closed to where you don't know who the donor was?
Actually, for my any donor, you don't get the opportunity to know who they are the first year. Okay. Because of it being an issue where they just lost someone and they're dealing with it. And you have to, it's a certain thing called survivor's guilt, survivor's remorse. And for the first 6 months to a year, a lot of people struggle with that. I was one. I struggle with the fact that I'm alive because someone had to leave, someone had to die, and that I'm dealing with the mental reality of just someone else's body inside my body. And so that takes a while to process. And I want to advocate for mental health because a lot of times as a recipient and a family of a donor, you have to deal with that mental loss or that mental change where your life is now in a new direction that you would have never thought that you would have to go through. You know, so it took me a while. Honestly, the first year, I did not even want to even think about knowing or having to approach a family of someone who I have their child's organ in my body. How do you approach a parent? How do you approach a daughter, a son? How do you approach a sibling saying, hey, you know, I have your brother, sister, whoever, mom's heart. And how do I navigate that? So yes, the first year you don't get to know, you know, who the donor is, and the recipient, they don't know yet either. But after the year, if the donor family wants to reach out, they can. I never had that opportunity, but I thank them. I thank God for them. You know, I know when I first got my heart, people say, do you feel different? Because, you know, that's a thing where you do have, and I did. I felt the things that I liked, I didn't like anymore. And I opened up to new things that I never tried before. So that is true. As far as I can see, you do get to have a little bit of that donor in you, and I thank them. You know, and I want to think that I got the best part of them.
Okay,
you know,
that's a good.
Is there anything that you would like the public to know about, you know, your struggles and your just being aware of their bodies, what's going on, anything they need to look for, how to advocate for themselves if their doctor isn't, being proactive on their behalf, like what you experienced with Baptist.
Yes. Well, honestly, the biggest thing I want to start off with saying, the family members of people who are struggling. As Nikki spoke earlier, you have to notice that the change in the person. I was always active in the travel by myself. Like she said, I would go. I would ride, get in that car, and
go to Miami.
Yes, I'll see you later. I'll go see my line sisters in Miami. So when you see someone make a drastic change and they tell you they don't feel good, it's something going on. Be aware of that. Don't come and say, hey, why won't you this? And why? Like she said, because I can. If I could, I would. If I could change it, I would. I remember I told my mom one time, I said, I would not wish this on a worst enemy. That's how serious it was. That's how sick I was. So please be mindful and aware of. And I'm going to tell you, this is the honest truth. And a lot of people that I met in my situation who are habitually ill people, stop being a doctor if that's not your calling. So people like to tell you, oh, try this, do this, go there, try. No, thank you. The doctor told me what I need to do. I just need you to say, you know what? It's going to be all right. That's all I need. Sometimes that's all we need is to say, it's going to be okay. A shoulder lean. If I cry, just let me lean for a minute. Especially with people like me who are strong nature. So if I tell you I need you, or if I need to lean, just let me lean for a minute. It's okay, and I'm going to get up and keep going. So that's one thing. And as far as people who are dealing with this or trying to get transplant on that list, I'm going to tell you, you don't have to advocate for yourself. You have to show that you're ready and willing to do whatever it takes to get that organ. I'm going to give you an example. One of the things they tell you at past 65, they don't like to give people transplants. Why? Because at that age, they're telling you, hey, it's someone 20 or 30. They don't like to do it. I can give it to a younger person. I met a man who was 75 who had a new heart. And he said, I told my doctor, hey, I'm still active. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. They want to know, what are you going to do with this heart if I give it to you? What are you going to do with this kidney? What are you going to do with this lung? Are you going to sit there and live a life, a healthy life, a full life with this heart? Are you going to go and ruin it by taking illicit drugs or
drinking,
alcohol and things like that? What are you going to do with this organ? So you have to be your own advocate. You have to show that you are ready. You have to make sure you have to have a village. Because when you're going through it, one of the things I tell you, I had to have, when I had the pump, I had an open wound. And thank God it was during COVID because everyone was inside. So I had opportunity to have people who was able to help me, like my family. My mom had to change my wound every day. Every day. And they need to know that you have family and people who are going to support you. I had my mom and my brother who were in that hospital with me. I had my cousin, Ernie, who came just as much as they did. I mean, I had a lot of family in the hospital who came. They needed to know you had a village. I had my godbrother, Antoine. I would be sleeping. He would wake up at 6 a.m. He said, I came to work from here, So I had a village. And they want to know you have people who are going to be there to support you through that. Because if you do not, because you're going to need people. And if you do not have anyone, they're going to tell you, we need to give this someone else a support system. Yeah. So please make sure you have your support system available and ready to help you, because that is the biggest thing. Other than that, mental health, you're going to go through a lot of stress, depression. I'm not the person who deals with a lot of stress and depression. But when you're going through that, I'm telling you, I don't care how strong you are. It is going to play a toll on your brain and your mental. So be prepared. Have positive people who are going to speak that positivity into you, because you're going to need it. You're going to need it. So I think that's one of the main things.
But sister, you did good. You really did good.
Thank you.
Divas of the Round Table. This was Opal Menchan with her story on congestive heart failure. So take heed of these words. If you know someone, if you have a family member, be that village. Or if you know anyone who's going through some health problems, anything, be that village that is supportive and gives them that encouragement, because it might be your kind words and your thoughts that push them through. So again, I have Miss Nikki Nicole. If you're thinking of money, prosperity, that is her. Remember, this is our tugboat queen. She travels back and forth, so keep her in your prayers. Spicy Red is not here, but if you see that FedEx truck, please be mindful and be respectful of the truck because you might get ran over. And then I am Ladybug, 27 years. Hey, education, be there for your kids. Knowledge is power. Again, this is Divas of the Round Table. Thank you. Please like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you guys later. Take care.
Bye.
Goodbye.